message on the second annual State of the City Address. I'm Mayor Sam Craig, City of Bedford. I'm very honored to be here this evening to make this presentation to everyone. It is a pleasure and an honor to serve our citizens and share transparency about the work we do every day. Our city succeeds because of the hard work of our council, various boards, department heads, dedicated employees. We are grateful to work every day to serve you, our citizens. In 2022, we're going to talk about some of our accomplishments here in the city of Bedford. One thing that I'm going to hit on at the beginning here is just a little information that after being elected mayor that I looked into and we proceeded to do, and it has helped us greatly in some of the things that I'm going to talk about through this presentation. And that was the hiring of a financial advisor for the city of Bedford. This has been very beneficial to the city as far as having someone in the knowledge of this finance who deals on a regular basis with cities and towns on their budgets and can give good advice and guidance on the incoming revenue and expenditures that we need to look at for our city. So first of all, I'm going to talk about milling and paving. So through the Community Crossings Grant, which requires a 50-50 match, we milled and resurfaced approximately 5.4 miles of roadway in the city of Bedford. So on the 50-50 match, for the city's part, this is $441,417.72 is what the city spent on their 50% match on the Community Crossings Grant. This next slide, whenever you look at it, in my opinion, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but the picture says it all. This is an intersection that, living here all of my life, that has been a problem ever since I can remember as a child. At this intersection with accidents and different things taking place due to the hill, the railroad tracks at the base, and then actually when you cross the railroad tracks heading west, the road actually had a little bit of an incline to it. So this was a goal after being elected, that the plan was that we were going to work on this intersection, and plans were made to even work on the intersection with the railroad tracks in place if needed to address the issue. For us, whenever we got ready to see about proceeding with this, CSX came through and, as we all know at this point in time, took the track out. Whenever they took the track out, it made it much easier for us to go ahead with our project that we wanted to complete. In that intersection, there's approximately 100 tons of asphalt that was put down to make this intersection what it is today. It was kind of interesting on this intersection. Prior to this intersection being done, in the past, we had addressed an issue out on Tunnelton Road. We did some paving out there. We had a major issue out there with the drainage, all the water coming off the golf course. If some of you remember, we went out there and did several drains in and did a lot of work out there. I had a gentleman that stopped me on that project and said, I want to tell you, this is the best project that I've ever seen the city of Bedford do on any road improvements as long as I've lived here. And then I saw him after this intersection was done. He came back and he said, well, I guess I have to tell you that I was wrong because this 18th and J Street is much better than your project on Tunnelton Road. So we were very pleased to get this done. It took a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it turned out fantastic for our citizens. Some other safety concerns as far as to pedestrians. Our Boys and Girls Club. We have to be proactive on issues that we want to address. We can't just sit back and let things take care of themselves. So I contacted the Boys and Girls Club, reference to this little stretch here. If you're familiar with the club, you'll know exactly where it's at. There was no sidewalk or anything there. You can go over there on Saturday mornings or through the week, and everyone would be walking in the roadway. Dogs, children, everyone, especially if it was raining or anything, they didn't want to get in the grass. So I talked with the club and asked if the city could put a sidewalk in there to address the issue. And of course, they were very pleased that we would do something like that. So sidewalk was put in, made the area much more safer for the adults and the children whenever they have to walk down 19th Street beside the club. Utilities. In addition to critical infrastructure projects that are still underway, such as the wastewater treatment plant, utilities takes initiative to be proactive to ensure proper and efficient functions for our citizens. Manhole restoration, 21 manholes were restored in 2022. Sewer line replacement, utility spends about $150,000 each year to proactively replace lining in the sewer lines to protect from leaks, caused from roots, and etc. And utilities is a very difficult area for the city of Bedford and for all cities that have to deal, of course, with this. Most of you, of course, unfortunately are familiar with the incident that we just went with on 16th Street here this last week. We had a sewer line that collapsed out there under 16th Street. We had to address the issue. It's something that wasn't planned, it's something that was an emergency, and then we have to deal with it. That project right now is estimated to probably run around the neighborhood of $200,000 for that repair out there. So utilities is an area that's very, very costly, and unfortunately it's always going to be there for all of our cities and towns that we have to deal with. I talk about being proactive, and that's something that my department heads and the council are very good at working on. We have to work together, updating our permits, updated ordinances for abandoned vehicles and parking, new solar panel ordinance, new street cut ordinance, new retaining wall ordinance. These are things that we have to be proactive on to be sure that we have our city in the place where we want it to be. If we're not proactive, the first thing we're going to do is start having a lot of issues with things that are taking place that we may not want. 32 new single-family home permits issued in 2022. That number says a lot. That is fantastic for our community. 9 commercial and industrial permits issued. 12 new businesses opened in 2022. It's within the city limits of Bedford. Transit Authority. This is something, whenever I went to work for the city of Bedford, back in roughly 2016 in the HR department, whenever we talked about task, I was kind of like, do we really use this? I really never thought that we had that many riders that was on our task system. In 2019, ridership task was 28,061. When you look at that number, and the population of Bedford is only 13,792, that's a lot of riders in the city of Bedford. And of course, in COVID in 2020, we went down to 14,924. We're picking back up a little bit since then in 2022. We reestablished ridership with clients, bringing our ridership to 22,151. Something else I want to mention on the task side of it also is you don't really stop and think about it, but we're working with another unit at this point in time to see about bringing another housing unit to the city of Bedford. If it comes in, it's going to be for the elderly. It's going to be a 32-unit apartment complex. One of the main reasons that we are able to apply for this grant, for this facility, is because we have a transit bus in our city. That is one of the only reasons that we qualify over so many other cities, is because we have this. So whenever you look at riders, there's a lot of other things there that benefit the city greatly also as far as having it. Events and engagement. In 2022, we launched Food Truck Friday Fun Days on Mondays, bringing a food truck to the downtown depot every third Monday of the month during the warm weather months. This was something that was very beneficial to our downtown. We had quite a bit of output, that people that came to it and looked forward to it. We're looking forward to establishing that again this year in the very near future. And some of the other events that are listed, as you can see, that the city of Bedford works with. One of the major events, of course, is the Limestone Heritage Festival, which we work very hard with BRI on this project to make it a success for our downtown. Also, of course, one of the things that I really enjoy, and that's our annual fireworks display on the 4th of July over at Wilson Park. I think whenever COVID hit and we did this the first year, it was unbelievable the excitement that we've seen in the city of Bedford and the outlying areas, that we had something that was outdoors that people could go to. And it's still a big event, and hopefully it will be again this year. A little on grants. In 2022, we applied for several grants, some of which we are still waiting decisions on. We applied for grants for a variety of projects, including infrastructure, tourism, quality of life, quality of place, and more. Regional Opportunity Initiatives Ready Communities 2.0 grant is one that we received. It was a one-to-one match grant from ROI, and we've talked a little bit about this grant. It's going to be used for the derrick on Highway 37 to re-secure it and put new signage on the derrick, which we will all agree is needed desperately. And we look very forward to getting this accomplished and getting a new sign up for our city. Along with that, we have the Land of Limestone exhibit that will be going in this facility down on the first floor. It's an exhibit that was once in the old Stonegate building up in the north end of town. It's already, the work part of it's been set up as far as how it will be installed here. It's going to start at one end downstairs, and it will proceed from the very beginning part of limestone all the way up to some of the finished products in the mill. So I'm looking very forward to this being completed, and I think it will be huge for our city, for them to be able to come in and look at this, to see our past, what took place here in our great city. Parks and recreation. Installed planter beds in the hoop house at the Garden Park. Resurfaced bridge on hole 17 at Otis Park. Repainted the John Lowry Municipal Pool. Worked on the stone at Otis Park Golf Course. Started renovating batting cages at Murray Park. And hosted the annual Limestone Capital Half Marathon and 5K. Our Parks Department, with what they do, they keep very busy. In the summertime, we know that, of course, mowing grass and the upkeep on everything takes a tremendous amount of time, and then in the off months, they spend a lot of time any tree removal or other things that need to be done. They can maintain and try to keep some of their maintenance going. A little bit about Wilson Park, the shelter house. This is a project that was very important to me. When I started in HR, I noticed the shelter house over there and talked with the Parks Department, and we started to see about trying to make headway on getting some work done over there. And as we talk about some of these projects that we do, we have to work on our maintenance of our buildings and facilities. If we don't work on the maintenance of our facilities, it's a matter of time that they're going to be to the point that maintenance is not going to solve the problem. So I was very pleased with COVID whenever this took place. It was very difficult even to find a contractor to even work on this. It took some time to even get anyone interested in doing it. But you can see the pictures, the before and after, what it looks like for today. And I have to say that I am very pleased with the outcome of the project. And then, of course, we can talk about City Hall. This is a project that was started, and as I started it, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So whenever we started it, the goal was that we were going to see about stripping the paint off. There were approximately 6 layers of paint on the facility. And by looking at the building, it was my opinion, I didn't know if the building had ever been, the brick had been tuck pointed or not. Whenever the contractor came in and looked at it, his opinion was that it had never been done. With the age of the building, it was something, of course, that was desperately needed done, and we did address the issue. As the paint came off, the brick started showing. I was actually amazed at how much of the paint they actually got off. I anticipated when they started this, there'd be a little bit of paint still on the building, and of course, whenever they finished, it was basically clean, which actually kind of surprised me. So whenever it was clean, we all kind of liked the brick, or I should say, most liked the brick. I had a few people that called and said that it should be painted again. The general consensus from most people was they liked the brick, I liked the brick. So we had a little bit of an issue as far as to finding a sealer for the brick because of the age of the brick. So we worked with this. We actually did a test sample on some of the bricks that they took off the building and replaced. We were able to find a sealer that worked. So the building was sealed, and it needs to be sealed every 7 years now, and it will maintain itself. Also on the inside of the building, we started doing a little bit of work. We were going to put a door into my office. So as you can see to the pictures, as you look at it to the left, you can see there in the wall that there's some drywall and stuff missing, and you can see the pipes. So that's where I was going to put the door, and once the opening was cut, and there was about 3 or 4 pipes right where we wanted to put the door. So they first said, well, we don't know what we're going to do now because of this issue with the pipes. And then they got to look and they said, well, this is really strange, there's a door there. So when looking to the right, you could see a door already in place that was just covered up with paneling and drywall and some other stuff that, of course, appears to be an original door for City Hall. So we were able to open this up and use it for the door into my office, and it was quite a find to find that in City Hall. Fire department. Some of the things that's taken place at the fire department: new fire helmets. We did updates, or doing updates to the Inglewood Fire Station that started in 2022. And this at Inglewood Station basically is a shower or restroom area that's being taken out and being redone. The plan is after that project is done, we're going to go to the front part of that station and replace the windows and do some work also on the paneling in the kitchen area and try to update this area of the Inglewood Fire Station. Also new radios for the trucks and vehicles. They've ordered some of those and they're pending installation. Cold foam fire suppression, firefighting. And then we have Fire Prevention Week. Visited 5 elementary schools to present on Fire Prevention Week, theme of Don't Wait, Plan Your Escape. Hosted an annual luncheon with the Director of Homeland Security and Indiana State Fire Marshal as guest speakers. And whenever I talk about maintenance on our facilities, with the fire department, this is something that is going to be a major role from the standpoint of particularly our north side station. The station, of course, is extremely old. They can barely fit the fire truck in the bay up there at this point in time. So we have a lot of maintenance issues with the fire department that are going to have to be addressed in the next few years to try to bring them back up to speed to where they need to be. If not, we're going to be in the same situation that if we don't do the maintenance and keep things updated and address the issues, then at some point it's going to be too late and the facility will just fail. Police department, new body cameras, new docks at all the police cars. Whenever we talk about the docking stations and the police cars, this is very important, in my opinion, for our law enforcement officers and for our citizens from that standpoint. In law enforcement, a lot of times whenever you roll up to a situation, the cameras they have now, you have to push a button and turn them on. And whenever there's a lot of stressful situations out there, sometimes that gets done and sometimes it doesn't. So with these new docking stations, immediately turn the body cameras on when the lights are activated on the vehicle. So this is something that is a great benefit to everyone. And then community policing. Officers spoke at the Career Center, law enforcement classes, completed canine demonstrations, and spoke at elementary schools. Met with BMS forensics class, attended Hoosier Uplands Information Fair, and Cub Scouts met with officers at the current PD. Then we move on to the police department and their new facility that is taking place still at this time. The Redevelopment Commission voted to purchase the old Alden building at 2308 16th Street to turn into the new police department in February of 2022. The new PD is over twice the square footage of their current space, allowing for growth opportunity for regional trainings. Construction on the new police department began in November of 2022. This has been a rather large undertaking for the city. Chief Moore has worked extremely hard on this project with a lot of other departments with the city to accomplish this task. And something that I also did on this project that I kind of feel like on a lot of projects in the city that we need to do. So on this project, of course, we have an engineer and everyone that monitors the building, but on this building and some of our other projects, I asked Planning and Zoning, who does the city inspections for residentials and things, Brandon Woodward and Kevin Jones, to go out periodically and just do spot checks at the facility to make sure that everything was in compliance with everything that we make everyone follow that we inspect. So this just gave me a little bit more reassurance that everything was being done the way it needed to be done, and we were on top of things if there were any issues. The squad room, if you look at the left bottom, the old squad room, which of course you can see there has the desk and some chairs and stuff in it. But this is the same squad room when I worked at the police department that we used then. That room is 12 by 22, 264 square feet. Sometimes you may have as many, of course, as one officer in there, or as many as 4 or 5, or shift change. You might have something major going on, and you may have 8 or 9 officers in there, which, if they can fit in there, that would be the question. So our new facility, just for example, on the left, that's going to be the new squad room. That room is 25 by 42, which is going to be 1,050 square feet. So the new facility is going to give the police department so much more room that they will be able to operate a little bit more efficiently. And one of the big things is, it's going to have a lot of room for expansion. We have one room out there that actually at this time is not designated for anything, and we have everything else set up. So that for down the road, as they grow, they will have plenty of room for that. One other thing that I insisted on at this building was the fact that I wanted a conference room. The reason that I wanted the conference room was that it could be set up and be big enough that if, whether it be at City Hall, utilities, or wherever, if we have an office that we run and operate here in the city, if we would have a fire or if we would have a major incident, that we might lose that facility, that we would be able to utilize this room at the police department in an emergency situation, that we would be able to set up quickly and be able to go ahead and operate. It was set up that this room also has an exterior door, so that people can come and go and not really disrupt anything with the police department's operations, and can be used as needed if that need arises. So this facility is going to be great for our city. It's going to be great for our law enforcement. And I'm very eager to get it done and get our police department in it. The GM investment. GM announced a $45 million investment in GM's Bedford casting operations, allowing the expansion of EV drive casting production. We must keep working with our partners to make our city better. We all have to work together and work with everyone else for the benefit of our city. GM plays a major role in our city as far as employment and also as a tax base. And this is something that we need to work with along with other agencies out there and businesses to work for the benefit of our city. Team member development. City employees have the opportunity to develop themselves professionally throughout various forms of trainings. Many of these trainings are a benefit to our employees and our citizens. Just to mention a little bit of this, the dementia-friendly training that the city went through. As you read that up there, for our employees and more even for our citizens, this is something that's a great benefit for us to be able to communicate and realize what some of our citizens may be dealing with, that we can act more appropriately to benefit them and to benefit us whenever we need to speak and work with them. CPR. We encourage our employees to take the CPR class and stay current on it. And there again, we look at that for the reason as for our citizens and our other employees if they would ever have a medical issue. So there again, this is something that's just proactive that we want to do for our community. OSHA training. 22 employees passed the 10-hour OSHA training in 2022. This program is offered every year for new hires for those that need to be certified. There again, this is something that we need to be proactive on and work. That's a benefit for our employees and also our city for them to have the training that they need for some of the job performances that we ask them to do. And in the HR also, some of these things, I just want to hit on a little bit. With COVID, I think HR has grown absolutely tremendously. 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't anything like it is today. Our grants that we work on, there was always some grants out there, but since COVID has hit, I mean, it just seems like they're funneling grants out like crazy. And applying for these grants and working with them to receive some of them is a rather large task. So there's a lot of the city that has changed over the last few years with COVID. So we're kind of looking to the future here a little bit. One of the main things that we're really looking forward to, and that's our new pickleball court. It's actually underway right now at Wilson Park. They've broke ground, they have gravel down. They're waiting for the asphalt plant to open here sometime the first part of April, so they can start putting asphalt down and continuing the project. Repaint the slide at John Lowry Municipal Pool. They're wanting to build up a sand volleyball court at Thornton Park. Renovations to the practice area at Otis Park Golf Course. Reclaim bunkers on the golf course and pave the walking path around the garden park. And the garden park, if you're not familiar with that, that's the garden park that's off of 5th Street here in our city. It's a very nice area. It's got a nice, whenever we get a blacktop, it'll have a nice little walking path around the park. They have a nice little shelter up there and playground and stuff. That park is actually utilized quite a bit, and it is a very nice park. Utility projects. Whenever we talk about utility projects, sometimes they're good, and sometimes people think that they're not so good. And that goes along with the standpoint as far as to what we're doing. New gravity sewer line from Columbus Avenue, 10th and O Street, to reduce sewer overflows. We're working on updates to the Spider Creek lift station. And as everyone knows, we're putting a new 24-inch sewer line from 5th Street down through John Williams Boulevard that we're currently working on. And these are things that as our city grows that we have to do. There again, we have to maintain what we have, and we have to plan for the future. So unfortunately, whenever we have to do these projects, there's no doubt it's an inconvenience to our citizens with what we have to do, but it is a necessity that the city has to do this, or there again, if we don't be proactive on some things, our progress is going to stop. We've also applied for another grant for a sewer line. We're still waiting, pending notification on it if we get it or not. And there again, it's just another grant that we've applied for that hopefully we're going to receive. Street department, they're purchasing a new side boom mower, which come in May. It can be used for mowing along guardrails and foliage. And this year, we intend to pay 4.8 miles of roadway in 2023. On the side mower, this is something that I think the city will be able to utilize a lot. As you see in the picture, it can be used to mow over the guardrails. It can also, the boom can be raised out on some of our roads where the trees are fairly close and they grow out into our roadway. That boom can be raised up and actually cut that foliage back to get it away from the road. I anticipate that this is going to be used out at the golf course in some of the areas out there to clean up some space. Another spot that I'm sure that it will be used down at on Mitchell Road, there at 25th Street. The corners there always grow out to the guardrails and you can't see. And then our street department guys have to get in there by hand with clippers, chainsaws, or whatever it takes to cut that brush back, which is a huge work comp issue from the standpoint of a good possibility of injury in that type of work. So this will be a fantastic tool for our city to be able to use and maintain our city. A couple of things that I'm still wanting to get done, I want to talk about briefly. I've been wanting to get a city flag. That's something that I have fell short in not accomplishing yet, and that's one of the things this year that I anticipate on getting done. Another thing that we're looking at doing, I've looked at it a couple of times, is forming what they refer to as a junior council. This would be like high school students that they form a group, they work with city council and the mayor's office. There's different guidelines that they set up. Of course, they don't come in and vote, but they can come in, see, observe what's going on with the city. They can give the mayor and the council input from their perspective on different things that we're looking at doing. And I think it's a good way to get our younger community involved in government, which I think is needed at this point in time. Something else that's going to take place that the council members received this evening, we're going to be doing a newsletter. It's going to be released quarterly, and it's going to be something that will be in hard copy, and also we'll be putting it on Facebook and on our website. And it will just be updates there again with what's going on in our city to inform our citizens as to what we've accomplished and what we're looking at doing. So, and as you look at this picture, this slide, out of all of the slides that we have seen tonight, is the most important. These are the individuals that work and work hard to accomplish everything that I have discussed this evening. I can't say enough about our city council, our department heads, our city attorney, my right-hand secretary, Debbie. They all work extremely hard to accomplish all of these things that I have talked about. And I don't have a picture of all of our employees, unfortunately, that I would like to have, because it would be the next picture that I put up there. Because this group here is instrumental in putting things out there and overseeing that things get done. But the rest of the 160 to 65 city employees are the ones that actually get the job done. And that's where it's at. Whether if it's snow removal, if it's a fire, If it's a water line break, if you need the police department, whatever the case may be, whatever department, they're there and ready to respond to your need and take care of whatever situation that you have. So I want to thank all of the department heads, the council, all of the employees of the city of Bedford, and I want to thank them for the great job that they do for our city, because if it wasn't for them, the job wouldn't get done. So this concludes the State of the City address for this year. I want to thank everyone for taking the time for joining us, and if you have any input, please contact me at City Hall, and I would be glad to receive it and work with you. Thank you very much.